Hey, what's up? I'm Mr. Dan. I'm going to jump on a few times today, share a little bit about my doctoral work and the presentation I made. The presenters will then kind of take it away and guide discussions and go through some other slides with you. But some of the research that is particularly unique to my study, I'm going to jump on and talk about a little bit. I interviewed teachers in Granite, Jordan, Salt Lake City School District, and Ogden School District. After interviewing these 24 teachers, I kind of looked at how do teachers who are trauma-informed think, and what do they kind of think about that might be unique to trauma-informed? And then how do they do? What do they do that might be a little different? And we're going to talk about those today, what are some of the things they think about, and then what are some of the things they do. But before we get started, I really want to highlight something I want to be clear about. And to be clear, there are some misunderstandings or some pitfalls of the trauma-informed movement. And when I interviewed some of the teachers, I was like, I'm not sure this is trauma-informed. And so these are kind of three ideas that I really want to highlight to kind of get us a good head start so we don't head off into the wrong path. The first one is that trauma-informed is not working to validate behavior, it's working to understand it. And what I'm talking about here is accountability. Sometimes when people become trauma-informed, they start thinking in a pity sense. They start seeing students for their struggles and lowering their accountability or letting things slide because of students' backgrounds. And what this ends up doing is enabling struggling youth and enabling youth to continue to make choices and not be held accountable. And then it impacts their life trajectory when they want to get jobs or have healthy relationships along the way. So it's important that we continue to maintain accountability even in the trauma-informed movement. The next part here is that trauma-informed is not working to validate weak teaching, it is working to improve teaching. And what I'm talking about here is that this idea of we have to hold high expectations. Educators who hold high expectations get students to achieve, they read, they write, they problem solve. It improves their entire life trajectory and we help them head on the right track. And sometimes there are some trauma-informed teachers that I've interviewed that I feel like they lowered the expectations because of their learning about their students' struggles and kind of made like a summer camp environment where they just sat around and talked, watched movies, and didn't continue to keep the rigor going. So good trauma-informed teaching still has accountability measures, still has high expectations. And my last bullet point here is that trauma-informed does not mean you need to know student trauma. And what I'm saying here is, please do not actively search out student trauma. One of the pillars of the trauma-informed movement is that we want to avoid re-traumatization. We can do a lot of harm by having students walk in, asking about their trauma, dragging them through their trauma, which causes this re-traumatization. So one of our jobs in education is to build students up, to see them for their strengths and avoid a deficit perspective. Students will inevitably share some of their experiences with us because we work with them, spend a lot of time helping them and guiding them along their path of education, but it's not our job to actively search it out. And so the idea is just know that trauma could be impacting students from this presentation. We'll talk a lot about how it impacts students, but what we really need to think about is how we can then come up with good trauma-informed practices to help see students for their strengths and guide their life trajectory in the best possible way.